Hello, welcome aboard. Nigel with you, Nigel's Molding Bench. Welcome back to the channel for yet another kit review. Yes, a kit review. I've got two kits here, but I'm going to review one of them. Just literally had this come through the door. It is Thursday the 11th of September 9/11 2025, and here we are. So sad times all round, as some of you will know, and yeah, I want to express my condolences to friends and family. So yes. So just had this delivered from Hannants, and came via Royal Mail. They said it would be delivered by 1:35, and it is now just turned 6 o'clock. So there we go. That's pretty close. So this is the fairest, not brand. Well, it is brand new. It's brand new to me, but it's very, very new. This is the 1/72 scale Western Wessex HD2, which is a brilliant little kit. And it's a proper beauty. The artwork's stunning as usual. I haven't seen any reviews on it yet because I don't like to see other reviews and then take my own reviews. But it's very, very interesting little model. So I will have a look at that later. But this is what I want to talk about today. This is the SLS Artemis. So Space Launch System, and the program is called Artemis. This is not an Artemis rocket, okay, as has been told to me by somebody else. But and I assumed that this was, you know, like Saturn V was Artemis, and then I looked it up, and nope, it is SLS Artemis refers to NASA's Space Launch System rocket and the Artemis program, which uses it to return humans to the moon. So which it hasn't done yet. I'm not sure what Artemis 2 will do. This is Artemis 1. I'm assuming it will follow very much like the Saturn space program Apollo, where you know, probably the second one will be taking people, I don't know, or taking people in the launch in the orbiter, go around the moon and come back. I doubt they'll actually land on the moon on the second one. I don't know. You'll tell me in the comments, no doubt. But this is a brand new kit from Airfix, 144 scale, and it's a model set, so it includes these paints, brushes, and glue. The glue is, well, it's okay for sprue glue, and that's about it. The paints are apparently quite good. I have used them once or twice, and they have gone down very nicely. And the brushes I like very much. I really do like these brushes. They're by no means your Winsor & Newton quality, but they're better than some brushes you can buy, which are advertised as being something special. So bear that in mind. So front of the box here, you've got the artwork, and obviously it's going to go that way round. And then on the back of the box, you've got the artwork which is better for my camera. And down here you've got that sticker which you need if you have to make any claims or anything. So you can see it's got the United States on there, it's got NASA, and then we've got the European Space Agency there, and we've got the orbiting around the Airfix badge there. You can see there's a shuttle by the look of it. It's not. Don't know what that's supposed to be. It can't be a shuttle because it's got two engines out the back. So I don't know what that is. It's just a thing. So here we are on the side of the box. They've got an illustration of the actual size of the model, so you can see how big it is. It's bigger than the box because it runs out and then it starts again. Here, these are the rocket boosters. Sorry, I thought it was starting again there. No, these are the rocket boosters. So that is basically from finger to finger. That is literally just that part of the model. So we've got all of that above it to go. So there we go. It's an end opening box, which some people will moan about, including me. But hey ho. But it is a nice rigid box. It's not like your floppy thin cardboard boxes. So we'll get it open and we'll see what's in here. So there's obviously the stand, which is individually bagged. And then we're going to have probably 1 or 2 bags of sprues. I did see Moss's review on this one actually. There's our bag of paints. And there's our instructions, and no doubt the decals are nice and safely tucked away inside the instructions. Unlike every other manufacturer where they're just leaving the box to get damaged. So yeah, we've got quite a few paints in there. So we've got 3 of the 100. We've got an 18, a 33. Sorry, we've got 5 of the 100. A 19, an 18, and a 33. So there we go. And there's our brushes in there with the plastic ferrules on them to protect the bristles. So that's very good. We've got 2 tubes of absolutely useless glue. There's the actual the main fuel tank, if you like. That's the main sort of first stage of the rocket. I'm not sure if they call it stages on this one. And then we've got the ends of the rocket boosters and everything there. We'll have a look at all this in a minute. We'll get it out of the bags. And then we've got 2 sprues in this bag. Looks like we don't have any loose parts. Well, we do have 2 loose parts floating around in there. Looks like there's nothing in here floating around, so that's good. Just going to have a quick look here because Moss was saying that his was broken. I'm just looking here, and these tiny little thin fuel lines here, mine are actually broken, so lucky me. So again, we'll have a look at that in a minute. And then there's the stand, which we'll also have a look at in a minute. And then here we've got our instructions, and within the instructions will be a beautiful cartograph decal sheet, which is absolutely lovely. So there we go. I had to have a doctor's appointment earlier on, and I left a message on the door, you know, please throw parcels over the gate. And I was so glad the postman did come late, actually, because it absolutely poured down, and these decals would definitely have got ruined because they're not in a plastic bag or anything. So I think it probably would have got through. So there we go. So thankfully they came very late. So you can see here we've got the name badge for the actual rocket itself, and we've got height, payload to moon, 59,500 pounds, 27,000 kilograms. We've got weight is 5,750,000 pounds, and we have speed is 24,500 miles an hour. So a little bit faster than your Ford Mondeo, guys. And there we go. We got the bits are nicely labelled here, and then we've got the NASA badges there. I did look. I was looking for some colour callouts because I'm not really sure about this browny orange on the main fuel tank, and I found myself looking at the Keyworld magazine's build that they did, and they actually said these decals are very tricky because the carrier film, if you look at the carrier film, the decals are joined, the N and the A are joined by the very bottom here, and the S and the A are joined by the very bottom here. It's not a big piece of carrier film, so apparently when you put them on it's very difficult, and they all just want to do this. So what they did, they cut through, so they had N, AS, A. Okay, so they had N, AS, A. There you go, did the same on that one, and then it was easier to put them down. So that's what I should do as well. So that's a great recommendation, thank you very much. This one here, the smaller NASA, is one piece, so that'll be absolutely fine. We've got all these little badges on here. I'm not exactly sure where they go, but I did notice there was some on the around here, 57. Yeah, you see we've got these around the cone where it slims down for the is it the Orion? I can't remember now. I'll have to have a look. I think it's Orion, isn't it? I think that's Orion, and this here is the on the command module. You had the service module in Saturn V, and I think this is like the command module, and this is the service module. This here is the escape system. So if there's any problems on launch, these 4 or 5 I think it is rockets on here blast, and that whole cone part separates and leaves all this part behind to fall over and burn or whatever. So very, very similar to Saturn V in that respect. So we've had a look at the decals. They're lovely, very nice indeed. Let's look at the instructions. I've got the colour callouts, so we'll look at these as well while we're here. So here you can see they've got a view sort of looking down from the top to make sure you get A, B, C and D right. So you've got northwest, east, south. Sorry, northeast, southwest. And then I'm not exactly sure what that means. What on earth does that mean? The X, the cross and the brush. Don't paint it? I wonder if because it's white plastic they're saying not to paint those bits. And then they'll remain, no, they're saying 65 there. You see 65 is a decal. I think they're telling you not to paint those bits. I think what they're saying is paint this with paint this with 18, but don't paint the end bits. I think that's what they're trying to say. So it would have been nice to have a legend there to not confuse silly old folk like me, or silly old farts. And then on the instructions, beautiful artwork on the front, very, very nice indeed. And then coming inside, we have the starter set type thing where they're giving you all the tools you need because this is a model set. So basically, if you want to buy your father, grandfather, brother, mum, sister, whatever, anybody who's a fan of this, if you want to buy them this for Christmas, they can open it and basically start it and build it on Christmas Day, as long as they've got some clippers, some scissors, and a nail file, really. I mean, you probably find some bits and pieces around the house you other need. But quick tips here about painting, cutting out decals. Always use scissors, don't ever cut them out with a knife. You put an edge on them, the knife makes it difficult to get off. And then slide the decals on. As I said, these are cartograph decals and they are amazing. So there we go. So on the front of the book here, they talk about the actual system itself. They give you all the projects. Plans to take place in late 2025. I believe the earliest it's going to go now is February 26. This will be the first crewed mission of the Orion spacecraft. So Artemis 3 will be the first return of humans to Earth's moon surface. So yeah, it's very much like the Saturn, but only in 3 stages. So the first one did the orbiting unmanned. The second one is going to do the orbiting with people. And will orbit the moon and test the capabilities of the SLS rocket and Orion spacecraft. The 4-person crew will include the first woman, person of colour and non-American to venture beyond low Earth orbit. The first return of humans to the moon surface will be Artemis 3. There we go. So, all the different languages in there, which is very good. Lots more stuff here. This is all your assembly instructions. That's going to be like, you know, don't sniff the glue. Make sure you read the manual fully. Cut the parts off with nippers. It's just going to be general instructions. So going straight in here with the main body, this is the fuel tank. So it's nice to see they've put these stiffeners in here to keep it all nice and cylindrical. And it'll also, you know, if you squeeze it a little bit too tight, the seams split and everything. This is going to be really nice. This will be a lot nicer than the Saturn V, purely because the tooling is 55 years newer. So they're telling us here we've got sprue gates. It looks like they've got sprue gates actually on the surface of the part. Yes, they have. So they're telling us to remove those. So I'm actually going to build this, and I might even start building it like today, because I really, really want to do it. But I'm trying to find out what colour this should be here. If any of you can help me, tell me in the comments below. Not what you think, please, what you know. And then, yeah, so we're going to put these the main cylinder together. So we're going to glue the formers in. You've got the dome on the end there for the end of the fuel tank. And then we're going to put the other side on. And then we're going to have a seam to deal with. And we'll have some ridges around here to sand and everything. There'll be lots and lots to do on that to get it perfect. And then we've got the lower section here going together. And then we've got the base for the motors. And then that's going to glue onto there. Now you might want to leave that off for now, because this part here is white or cream or whatever colour you want to, you know, see it as, and make it a lot easier to, you know, rather than having to mask it. But then if you use white glue or something, you won't get any problems with the join. We've got the bases here for the rocket motors, and then we've got the actual exhausts themselves. These are the R25 engines borrowed from the shuttle. They're the main engines that were actually in the shuttle. So there we go. So looking at A and B, looking at how to look at it so you can get an idea. Perhaps put a little bit of tape on there and mark A and B so you can follow all the way through. There we are. And then we've got the cone going onto the top. This is to reduce the diameter down for the second stage, as it were. And then we've got these transfer lines here going down the sides, telling us again to remove the sprue gates, glue it all together. And then we've got those very, very thin little fuel lines going down there and along here. So that's going to look lovely. I'm not sure if they're a different colour, were they, to the actual orange? Yes, they are. So they are silver. These are a lighter orange colour, and then you've got the sort of the orange rust colour there. So there we are. So basically we're doing that on all 4 sides, as it were. A circle has no sides, but you know what I mean. And then we're on to the rocket boosters. Again, these are solid rocket boosters borrowed from the space shuttle. So, and they are actually reused. They go and capture them back and reuse them. And it's showing you here how to make sure it's fitted correctly. That's correct and that's not. So you've got to make sure that that little tab, this little tab here, part B8, has got 2 little raised areas on it, and they've got to go into that area there. you've got to go into that area there, not into that slot. So that's a great bit of information. You'd have thought they'd have actually made it so you couldn't do it that way. You'd have thought, but they discovered after the tooling was done. Again, we've got these sprue gates to remove on here, and that's going to get glued together. So you've got to make 2 of those, obviously. And then we've got the bases for the rocket motors, which is very, very nicely detailed. And we've got the little thrusters there for inverting it when it's coming back to Earth. So very, very nice indeed. So that is A, and that is B. Okay, that's the difference. This part here, this part here at the bottom, they're different parts. So pay attention to what you're doing. You've got a left and a right. Okay, so make sure you get the right ones when you fit them on. I seem to remember Moss saying you can just clip them on. You don't have to glue them. So they will be interchangeable, I guess. There may be some engineering in the kit to stop you putting the wrong one on the wrong side. And then we've got a cone going on here. So we've got A, and then we're going to do all the same here on the B. Okay, so there's our mountings there. There's a little stabilizers like sway braces. So yeah, very nice. Going to look stunning. And then coming over here, we're going to fit it all together. They're not telling you not to glue it, but Moss was saying looks like it may be able to just clip together. Okay, so a bit of editing going on here, if you've spotted it. So coming over the page here now, we have this this second stage section here, which is like the command module that's going to sit behind Orion. And then here we've got the section that goes just below it. I think this is like a fuel tank. So you're going to make that up. You're going to make this one up with 4 sections, and you're going to make, come on, separate the pages please. And you're going to make this one up with 3 sections that go around the ring. So that's going to be very nice. So again, you'll have seams to deal with. Make sure you clean them up nicely. And then we're going to add the base of the fuel tank in there. And then we're going to put this ring onto the other part, and then we're going to add that onto that ring. So one of these is an interstage, or it's just the cone on the top of the first stage that's the interstage. It's basically just a ring of material to keep the parts, the 2 stages apart. Because obviously the top one's got to have a rocket motor coming down. So obviously there's going to be a rocket motor on the back of there. So this is probably the interstage. So what we're looking at there is the fuel tank, and the rocket motor will be down inside there. So there you go. So that's all gone together. And then we're going to, with 4 parts, we're going to build up this ring here. Okay, so that's going to go, that's like the back end of the Orion, I'm guessing. And then we've got this blast, we've got this emergency escape system here. And then you've got the little areas going in. There's 2 of those, is it? And then you've got these 4 rocket motors going on, and they are the actual, they're like rocket motors that would rip this out at that joint. It would rip it out and take the orbit, the module with it, so the people inside will be safe. And then we've got this very, very complex little lattice going on here, which is going to go around the bottom of the fuel tank. Okay, and then onto there we're going to put the rocket motor. So we've got some tanks around there, oxygen tanks probably, and then we've got the actual, this is the dome part. Is that the fuel tank, or is that the actual rocket motor itself? And then we've got this grill. This is the base for the exhaust, and then you've got the actual motor going in there. So there we are, and that's going to go into the back of there. So that is like your sort of part that's going to go to the moon, I'm guessing. Or does it break off here before it gets to the moon, or does it break off here? I'm not sure. Okay, and there we go. And then we all assembled together. You can see that this section here has like a bayonet fitting on it, so you can literally slip it on, so you can actually display that on its own or show your friends or whatever. So there we go. So I must do some research and find out what actually happens, how many stages it splits into, and if this whole lot goes to the moon, or if it's just that bit there. But obviously at some point it's going to eject this this safety system. So the model is actually done as taking off. Okay, I'm not sure. The Saturn V lost that straight away pretty much. So there we go. Right, so that's the instructions and the decals looked at. We've looked at the colour callouts. So now here we'll have a look in here. So here's our stand. So nicely individually bagged. So there's our stand, which is nothing fancy. It's just a, you got the what I did notice from the display model, the actual solid rocket boosters sit on these bits here. Put the light on now because I'm also going to move the camera down a touch. The actual solid rocket boosters sit on there, and then your 4 R25 engines are suspended in midair, so it looks really good when it's stood on the stand. Unfortunately, it looks like my stand's a bit bow, so we'll have to just put it in some warm water and straighten out, or maybe the weight of the model will keep it down. But there we go. So that's the stand taken care of, and then our first bag of parts. In fact, I'm going to open this other bag of parts first. So here's our second bag of parts. Here we are. So this is just one great big sprue, so obviously a very large machine has made this. So we've got 2 loose parts, they're the basis for our rocket boosters. So here's the actual main fuel tank part itself. I'm wondering if it's distorted because I can feel a step in there. Oh no, it's supposed to be there. It's all the way around on both sides, so that's okay. Yeah, it's got a nice sort of grainy finish on it, so when you paint it, you'll get that nice sort of look to it. When it comes to the seam, if you want to keep this grainy finish going, I'll show you how to do that when I build it. Yes. I wish it was moulded in grey, personally. A lot of people would be glad it's moulded in white so they don't have to paint it. But there we go. So that's the upper cone, that's the separator between this stage and the next stage. And then there's the base for the rocket motors. We've got some detail moulded on there. You can see that in the white plastic. You can see some detail on there. And you can see on here there's lots of detail on these walls. So it doesn't need to just look like a big plastic tube. It's going to be a lovely looking little model. And also all of these bits here can be painted in a lighter orange colour. And that's the bit they're telling you not to paint, that bit there. And then your fuel transfer pipes are going to go there. And then you've got some other little fuel lines going up as well. So yeah, very, very nice. It doesn't seem to have any separation boosters on it. Normally the Saturn V has little motors that push them apart. So there's the fronts of the solid rocket boosters. There's the top of your main tank in here. So that's what you're going to see down inside if you take the upper part off. So you have to do some references and see what colour that really is, because I know there was some debate about what colour it was in the Saturns, depending on which Saturn you did. We've got 3 legs in there, and it looks like that's done so that when you actually put the top on, you don't get it out of kilter. It's always going to be orientated correctly, so that's a really good idea. And then there's the mounts there. These are going to go into the sides. I think we need to drill the holes, don't we? Or are they going into the base? Oh, they're going into there, look. Okay. Yes, so they're going to go into that base there, I'm guessing. Okay. So yeah, very nice, very very crisp, very clean, quite solid, and nice to see that it's not sort of all sinkage and everything everywhere. It's got all these ridges on the inside to keep it nice and rigid, plus you've got all the formers to go on inside. That is lovely. That is a massive leap forward. I've got the Airfix Saturn V. I've built the Revell Saturn V, as you know, the 144th, and those kits aren't very nice at all. But this one is bloody lovely. Something I've noticed with the Airfix and the Revell, I showed you how to sort it out on the Revell build I did. If you notice it, the Saturn V has just been re-released, but you've got these ridge sections on Saturn V. And what they've done to keep the moulding, because they didn't have sliding mould technology, what they've done is instead of just coming round and keeping the radius going, they actually come around and then they go to a flat. So when you actually put your halves together, exaggerated, you get that. Rather than having a sort of a nice circular form, you get that. You get these 2 flats that come together. So you can sand those off and rescribe them. I show you how to do it in in my Revell Saturn V build, so you can go and watch that one. So there's the basis for the rocket motors. Moulding looks a little soft on them, but I'm assuming it's got to be, because otherwise the moulding would be soft everywhere. So there we go. This white thing on my arm, I've had a blood test today, in case you can see that. Right, and then coming over here, got the final bag. And here we have lots of lovely plastic. I don't think we've got any parts loose on the sprues. I'm going to be really careful not to break those pipes. And we've got 3 sprues in here, not 4. Not 2, sorry. Oh, come on, bag. Right. There we go. Right. So, here's the first sprue with those very fragile little fuel lines on it that would easily be broken. Do I have short shots there? Or is that the proper end? You see, Airfix don't give you sprue callouts, so you can never tell if that's a short shot or if it's supposed to be short like that. You should be able to tell by looking with a magnifier what the end looks like. Nope, it's correct by the look of it. Okay, so that's good. There's your blast protection cover, and also your escape system there. That's a little bit bent, but I'm not going to worry about that at all. That's been squashed in the, well, they've been together in the bags. There's that lovely, really sort of delicate little lattice system that goes around the bottom of the second stage. Then we've got the actual part there that's going to go together to make up that chamber for the motor. There's the bottom of the fuel tank. These are the pieces for the second stage here. If it's annoying that I call it second stage, I'm sorry, but there we go. They're the bits you don't paint white. You don't paint. They look like they sit on top of those bits. These bits here that I mentioned, it looks like there's just locations for them. So there you go. So yeah, you can paint all that orange and then stick those on after. But yeah, very nice. One thing I do want to say, there will be people out there thinking, oh great, it's white plastic, I don't need to paint it. I would seriously suggest putting some clear coat down or something, or even some gloss white paint. Decals do not stick very well to plastic, bare plastic. If you want to test it out, take an old set of decals, take an old kit wing or something, one half bare plastic, the other half just give it a clear coat or something like that, put a decal across it and then do the sellotape test and see which ones come off. And you'll be glad you tried it. So there we go. So we got a little tiny rocket motor there for our second stage. These are the little rocket motors for the safety system. And then we got our little boosters there, little thrusters for the solid fuel rocket boosters. There's some fantastic videos on YouTube if you want to go and find them. You can watch the rocket boosters come back to Earth. It's brilliant to watch. It's fantastic. There's one there where the space shuttle, you've got the cameras looking down the boosters, and you watch it take off. You can see how fast it gets away from the Earth, and then they come off, and then the cameras follow the boosters down all the way down to the landing. Absolutely amazing. So yeah, very nice. It's got some nice sharp clean moulding on there, which will, if you want to put a little sort of light grey wash just to pick things up, you obviously don't want to make it look weathered, but it would be nice to sort of pick out some features. I think probably a nice coat of satin varnish would go down well, just to sort of, you don't want it dead flat because it'll look like a military vehicle, but you also don't want it all glossy so it looks like a toy. So we've got 2 sprues here, so these are identical, so, and they're clearly the top. So here's your rocket boosters, and again we've got all those ribs inside to keep them nice and rigid, and there's the rings. There's one of the rings that goes inside the main fuel tank, and there's one of the big fuel transfer pipes. There's 2 of your R25 exhausts. They're nicely done, and there's the bases that they sit in. So yeah, it's all lovely. Not exactly sure what that is. I don't recall seeing that in the instructions. It's also interesting to note what Moss was saying. In here you get frame B, you get frame D, and you get frame A. But there is no C. I wonder what frame C will have on it. Artemis 2 perhaps? Be interesting, wouldn't it? And that was Moss that spotted that, not me. So yeah, there we go. That's bugging me now. There we are, lovely. So we get 2 of those. So be careful about those little fuel lines. So there's 2 of those. This one has got some sink marks in it from those ribs behind. Now I would have thought if I was designing this, I would have put those ribs in line with those ribs. But hey ho, doesn't really matter. If anything, it adds to the authenticity. It just doesn't look just like a straight tube. But you can see on there's a very slight amount of shrinkage. It's absolutely nothing. So there we go. That's bugged. I'm going to go and have a look at the instructions at what that is, because that looks like a huge rocket booster. Back in a minute. That's exactly what it is. That is the exhaust nozzle for the solid fuel rocket booster. They're the exhaust nozzles for the main vehicle. So yeah, wow. There we are. Okay, so that has been a review of the brand new Airfix 144 scale SLS Artemis. And yeah, I am very, very much looking forward to building this because I do like a big rocket. So I've got the excuse of waiting for parts for my my stalwart Stolly, and I also need something to get my mojo going, because my mojo, in case you hadn't noticed, is gone. So there we go. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all very soon, and watch this space for a build. Bye for now.